share your screen.
I'll go ahead, I'll kick it off. Hello, everyone. My name is Hugo Immediato. I am a Jamf engineer here at Rocketman, and this is today's Gravity Times, where your news is always down to earth. So, big day today. The Apple Vision Pro launched publicly. So, I'm starting to include our Vision OS updates into our Apple updates, and as it stands today, we're on version 1.0.2 of Apple Vision Pro. iOS and iPadOS are on versions 17.3. And macOS, Sonoma and Ventura got some security patches. Sonoma's on 14.3 now, and Ventura's on 13.6.4. Release notes, important bug fixes and security updates from Apple. It's recommended that all users install the software. It's definitely highly recommended that you get your users to 13.6.4 and 14.3 as soon as possible. Listed down here are the support articles. HT 214059. If you search that, that'll bring you to the 17.3 iOS updates, and HT 214061 will bring you to the macOS 14.3 updates. They're pretty extensive. There's a lot in there. We don't have time to go through all of it today, but definitely update. If you'd like to see all the updates, I've also linked the full support article here, HT201222, and that'll give you an overarching page of all the updates. Is there any additional Apple updates I missed, rumors or predictions that anyone would like to add? Okay, we'll move on to our Jamf updates. The latest version as of today is 11.2.0. Now, I don't think they fully rolled that out yet. Across our, managed environments, we still have everything from like 11.1.1 to 11.1.3. No one's moved to 11.2.0 yet, but if you just look up Jamf Pro 11.2.0, you'll get the update schedule if that's been released. One big thing with Jamf right now that I'm sure everyone's experiencing it. I know I've experienced it across multiple environments. So I believe this began Wednesday. That's when I double checked the status.jamf.com page, and there's a lot of server degradation going on right now. I've noticed a few consoles are loading slower than normal. I've noticed a few package install failures, even though the packages are perfectly fine and signed and everything. Notice some MDM commands failing. And you'll see here the Jamf team is on top of it. Now, I don't want to lay the blame on Jamf here. I don't know exactly what the cause is. Jamf will come out and announce it, but remember they are hosted on AWS, and there's a lot of cyber stuff going on right now. So take that with a grain of salt. Has anyone else experienced any server degradation in their Jamf Pro environments?
Yes, we did. Our primary node was down, so it wasn't communicating with our DigiCert server, and we used search for Zscaler, so that was fun. And
Okay.
we were down for over 24 hours. We had to escalate.
Okay. And has that been remediated for you? I'm sure Jamf was right on
Yes.
top of that. Okay.
Yes, but we couldn't get a hold of a tech the first day. This was Wednesday, as you said. Everything stopped working. We certs weren't getting delivered. The MDM profile was in pending mode, basically.
Yep.
And DigiCert's like, well, it's not on our side because it's not getting to DigiCert. And so we opened a case with Jamf trying to get them on the phone with DigiCert, and we couldn't even get a hold of a tech. It took us a week. We couldn't even talk to the tech until the next day. They were so busy. And it's because we moved to the cloud last May, and we have a DNS redirect in place. And so only customers with a DNS redirect in place is it's affecting them. So basically, the connection to the DigiCert server is expecting our URL, which is nortonlifelock.com, but it wasn't seeing that. It was seeing jamfcloud.com. So that's, the DNS, because the DNS redirect was broken and our node was down. The primary node was down. At least that's what they told us yesterday. So he screamed enough to where they bumped us up and fixed it for us.
Okay. So thank you for chiming in. Has anyone else experienced any other issues outside of maybe that SSL error, the DigiCert error that she was experiencing?
Yeah, one of our Jamf cloud instances was completely down, unreachable. So I got an error 503 for about 24 hours. It's fixed now, but it's really annoying actually.
Okay, wow. So both of you experienced some pretty severe outages.
Yeah, it got to the point where we had to figure out a workaround, and that was basically going to DigiCert manually and getting certs and installing them on people's machines because they couldn't work.
Okay. So I personally, I believe they introduced status.jamf.com a few years ago, but I've never seen a Jamf outage go on for more than a day like this. This is pretty shocking from my perspective here, but we're getting updates. These are finally updating from degraded to partial outages, and looks like Northeast is now operational. Anyone else? All this data we collect, we can redirect to Jamf. We've got some Jamfers on the call, so any input could definitely help expedite troubleshooting efforts on Jamf's end.
I didn't even know about
A
status.
single user not having having various network issues. He can't get to Apple News. I mean, no issues on anything else. I don't know at this point. I'm thinking about just reimaging him at this point.
Yeah, and so
Later.
so that was another thing. We've seen some images. I know I have from zero touch provisioning, um, from Apple setup utility during pre-stage enrollment. Some of those MDM or commands where the packages come down, the signed packages come down. I've seen those failing on intermittently on various servers. And again, we manage across all environments from east to west to Europe. So that's another thing I've noticed. So be cautious when you do go to reimage that device, that you still might experience some issues, or at least an extremely slow onboarding process relative to how fast it should be.
We've been seeing issues with MDM for software updates. So I pushed out 13.6.4 and 14.3. And I'm not getting the normal volume of response. So I'm going to see tomorrow, or today is the deadline for the 14.3s, and 13.6.4s are on 5 deferrals. So I normally see a much heavier uptick in the OS upgrade. So that doesn't seem to be working. And then somebody else put in the chat about package checksum failing. And
Yep.
I had that, and then I had a package fail that I did as a test. And to be honest with you, with Adobe packages, the really, really big packages like 4 to 6 gigs, those fail a lot when I'm uploading in Safari. So I have to re-upload them because they'll just get stuck at pending quite often. It's really frustrating.
Yeah, and specifically related to this issue, I've seen even very small packages that I've signed with Composer and uploaded to Jamf. I know everything is perfectly fine. It'll install locally, no problem. But when I upload it and distribute it from Jamf, I have also seen those checksum errors where it's just not installing. Yeah, so
May
Keith
I
Myers.
ask for a second, what kind of certificate are you using? The Jamf supplied certificate for the signing of the packages, or are you using a developer installation
Apple,
certificate?
you're breaking up right there, but I think I heard your question. We have an Apple developer certificate. We've got associated, with my Composer instance, for example, and that's what I'm using to sign it before uploading it.
The ones that I'm having issue with are created on the Adobe Cloud packager thing, so it's signed by them.
Yeah, Keith chimed in. He says, every time I think about migrating to Jamf Cloud, I hear these stories and think twice. And quite frankly, Keith, this happens very intermittently, like maybe once a year tops that we see an issue like this. So the pros definitely do outweigh the cons. It's a much smoother experience with cloud for sure. So don't let something like this deter you from going to cloud. I still highly recommend it to any of our clients that are local. It saves a lot of heavy lifting when you got to update your Tomcat, your SQL database, et cetera, to get everything up to snuff for the latest Jamf Pro version. Thank you for that input. Would anyone else like to chime in before we move on to feature requests? Or actually any other Jamf updates, quite frankly. Yeah, Victor's saying longer than normal deployments on our end onboarding. Yep, we've seen that a lot. Okay, anything else anyone would like to chime in about Jamf outside of the server degradation? Any more updates? Did I miss anything?
I was pretty concerned about the release notes for I think it's going to be 11.3, where it with their lapse features they were going to be it sounded like they were going to be forcibly changing the password on any, like if you did like a local support account that was set up with during pre-stage, that they were going to be forcibly changing the passwords on those. And it sounds like that they decided to hold off on that for a while, still keeping me awake at night a little bit. But so it seems like the fear has been delayed a little bit, but I was a little concerned about that one.
Okay, was this on Jamf
I
Nation?
heard, sorry to jump in right away. What I heard on that Slack thread, I don't know if you were on that, but Jamf officially came out and said, don't worry about it for all of 2024. They're not going to do it.
Oh,
Okay.
thank goodness. Okay, that's great. Thanks, Adam.
Okay, then we'll hold off on that. And feature requests. So if anyone has a feature request pending right now, or another person's feature request that they would like to highlight and expedite, uh, please, the floor is yours. Share the link inside of our Zoom chat, and I'll go ahead and I'll bring it up on our webpage here. And we can get you guys some upvotes.
In the meantime, while we do have some of these getting put into the chat, very much appreciate the live updates as we go through this. That was some really great information coming from the whole crew here. So thank you guys for always staying up to date.
Yeah, I also appreciate the links to the community notes here. I'll just step off of feature requests right now. No one has much to input, it looks like. Okay, so Deanna says Jamf is looking forward to bringing lapse functionality to the GUI and in 11.3. You'll have the ability to view rotate passwords from the inventory page. That's nice. The ability to configure settings via the GUI will be in a subsequent release. There's been a lot of chatter about the pre-stage account, and I can share that. Lapse will not be on by default for the pre-stage account. The ability to set a static password in the pre-stage will remain. This means that there will be no change to your current static passwords. The ability to enable lapse for the pre-stage account will be available in the GUI in a future release, and admins will have the ability to opt in to automatic password rotation. Current workflows that rely on a static password in the pre-stage will remain unchanged, and more information to follow in upcoming blog posts. Okay, so thank you for sharing that link. That definitely quieted down a lot of concerns. And we do have one feature request, so looks like Jamie or Jaime Flores, would you like to talk more about this feature request? Looks like SMTP Modern Auth with Jamf Pro.
Yeah, this is getting ridiculous. I mean, I voted up on this. I've called Jamf out on LinkedIn. I've called Jamf out everywhere I can. I've even talked to some Jamf employees about getting this. This is really getting infuriating. I mean, it's been 4 years since Microsoft has announced the deprecation of basic auth, and we need to get this done already.
Yeah, I agree. There's no modern authentication, so we cannot create emails or send ourselves emails if there's a change on smart groups or a change in policy, whatever the case is.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
work
I
in
went through
healthcare. I
this.
can't just have
I'll
anybody.
echo. Oh, sorry. I'll echo that it's absurd that we still don't have modern authentication. I actually got in a huge fight with my boss over it because I turned on my own Gmail and he got furious. And so we actually had to go to SendGrid as the alternative solution for it. But yeah, it's absurd that we don't have modern auth on that and they still need SMTP.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is the status is planned and active, and even though it's in a planned active status, if we can get more and more upvotes on this one, that just brings it up a tier in Jamf's eyes. So the more upvotes, the higher precedence this has over other feature requests, and that's direct from Jamf. So the more eyes we get on this, the more upvotes, the sooner. It's like they're working on it. So as long as we can continue to upvote this, it'll become a reality.
I just voted this up myself. We just had a recent problem that was actually ongoing for about almost 3 months, in which we had a whole bunch of our enrollments were failing, and I never could figure out what the hell was going on because everything looked like it was good to go. And then when we addressed this with Jamf, well, finally we got them to really dig deeper and address this. We kept on getting this device signature error, no matter whether it was a pre-stage enrollment or user initiated. And they wanted us to open 2 separate cases about those 2 scenarios. And but finally, I just told them, look, we need to consolidate this because they're being caused by the same damn thing. And it turns out it's caused by PI 112884. The following errors can occur during computer enrollment. So basically, if you've got smart groups that are going to send an email when computers fall into membership of that smart group, then and that's failing because of SMTP, it's going to screw up your entire enrollment. I'm like, why in the hell does that have anything to do with it? But it does. So I'm really frustrated with this, and so I think this modern auth would have solved that issue. We wouldn't be having that issue if they'd been supporting that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we have SMTP turned off right now, so our damn enrollments won't fail every time.
Yeah, so that seems to be the last feature request shared. I want to thank you, Jamie, for sharing that. Thank you, everyone, for upvoting that. And we're at the 20-minute on the hour, so I want to go ahead. I'll hand the mic back over to Eric, and we can get Matt going on our Jamf compliance editor.
Thank you, Hugo. I'll just say to Matt, normally we don't create such a stir during these meetups. We usually try and keep them pretty simpatico, but it is always great to get the honest opinions of everybody in the room. I think that's more important than everyone playing nice. So huge thank you to everyone for weighing in on that. And I'm sure I would echo Jamf in saying that they very much appreciate having that feedback. So with that, we do have Matt Woodruff on the call, who's going to be presenting on Compliance Editor, which we've already gotten some pretty cool sales pitches right out of the gate, right when we started this meetup, which is always exciting. Caleb, can you make sure that Matt has the sharing?
I'm good.
Got everything? All right. Well, Matt, I will turn it over to you. Please feel free to introduce yourself and go from there. Thank you so much for joining us, especially on short notice like this. So the floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Hey, everyone. Matt Woodruff here. Quick call out to David Pinsett. Yeah. So We got a lot to go on happening at Jamf regarding around compliance. And so yeah, I did get to hear a lot of the concerns that just showed up. So I apologize. I did not realize we were having so many cloud issues. I handle a lot of other things that happen at Jamf. So now you've got me all interested, and now I'm going to go do inquiries internally. But I hope you all are doing well. I've been at Jamf for 9 years. Previous to that, I was at Apple Corporate, handling engineering efforts for them. And I'm just happy to be here to talk to you about compliance. One of the major concerns that tends to get wrapped around regulated industries, but sometimes the smaller companies as well as the larger companies have to deal with, you know what if we need to set a baseline across all of our Macs and maybe secure them the best we can? Usually we use the term harden them. And so the one of the best things that ever got introduced was back when I was at JNUC 2017, and I was sitting down with Apple and NASA and the Pentagon and all these other people at JNUC talking about, hey, can we do some standardization around getting compliance done? And really good stuff came out of it. Lo and behold, about 2 years later, the macOS Security Compliance Project came out. If you don't know what that is, both look on Apple's website, but also look on NIST website. If you want to know numbers, I am a numbers guy. I'm an acronym guy. I will throw them all day long. It's NIST 800-219 is the latest special publication, or SP, from NIST regarding the official stance that the macOS Security Compliance Project provides a global standard for the implementation of security benchmarks. Thankfully, within that project, it has been mapped to multiple standards: CIS, CIS controls, NIST 853, NIST 800-171, CMMC, even starting to look at other ones, PCI DSS and others. So we've got a lot going on that front in regards to making sure that there is a open source environment that allows all of you to take a look at, if I'm going to implement this control, how does it work? Is it a configuration profile? Is it a script? And how do you audit for it? All of that is in the NIST GitHub repo, and I'm realizing that because I'm presenting, it might be hard for me to get the links into the Zoom. Give me just a moment. Let me see if I can get some of these links into Zoom, unless some of you already have it and want to post it. So here's the first link for the macOS Security Compliance Project. So that's first. Next up is that it's so good and it's so detailed and it is open source. We all know that means that it might get a little difficult in trying to use it. You have to know Python, you have to know YAML files, you have to know all of these variations of scripts, both Bash and Shell and all these other things that have to evolve around getting this implemented. You also then have to culminate it all together into a single package that can be deployed, and then you do a manual upload to your Jamf Pro server so that it all looks good and nice. Well, what we did at Jamf, and this happened as soon as Alan Goldbig, which happens to be one of the authors of the MSCP, thankfully, a little bit of convincing, I was able to get him over to Jamf. So now he's on my team. So Alan Goldbig and myself and two others within Jamf were able to recognize, you know what, it's a little hard to try to get a new Mac admin or even experienced Mac admin sometimes to actually go through the process of the implementation of the MSCP, or macOS Security Compliance Project. So why not put a very nice GUI on the front end of it? Well, that's where Jamf went with this. We decided, as a small team of 4 of us, why don't we build a little app internally, make it free to everyone? So yes, that's the first context to this. It is a free add-on tool to Jamf Pro. And what this does is allow you all to very quickly open up a macOS app that will use the NIST GitHub repo for everything. The controls, the mappings, the updates, they're still owned by NIST. We just decided to put a GUI front end to it. So I put the link in there. It includes both the download to the app, but also the user guide. I would ask, because I'm one of the 2 individuals that worked heavily on the user guide. Please open up the user guide. We put a lot of time and effort into building that user guide. So definitely go and grab the user guide as well. But now I'm gonna, and I apologize, I have a rather large screen, but I'm gonna show my whole screen because I wanna show you what does it look like to use this tool and how easy does it make your life to implement security. So give me a second. And if I can, those that are on camera, can you give me a thumbs up that you can see? It's
Yep.
huge.
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, good. Those are on camera, and I'll turn off my camera. This is the app. This is the notarized and signed macOS app that you get to utilize. One of the first components that you see, and this is part of the latest update of 1.3 of the app, is that there's a toggle, because in the NIST GitHub repo, you now can actually build iOS, iPadOS security benchmarks, which is fabulous. And that goes for both BYOD as well as corporately owned devices. But most of us are macOS admins. I'm going to take that journey with us together. So what I would do first, as a first-time user of this application, you obviously create a new project. As I click on this button, you will then see a selection. By the way, all of you might not see these devs. This is me playing around, and I've got certain flags set up. But Sonoma, Ventura, macOS Monterey, Big Sur, and Catalina. Well, I'm on the newest operating system. That's where most of my users are now sitting. I'm going to select macOS Sonoma, click on Create. It's going to ask me, hey, where do you want to save this locally on your hard drive? I click on Save. And then you take the journey of which security baseline and or benchmark do you want to utilize to set the standard? And then you work off of that. Well, I deal across the board. I deal here at Jamf, I deal with both our government, our regulated, and other global entities. So as I set this up, many organizations use the CIS security benchmark globally. If you happen to be, and some of these acronyms, if you're in the government space, rings true to you, like you're a government contractor, you have to meet CMMC. If you're part of the security industry, CNNSSI, or if you're just part of government organizations, the NIST 853 Rev 5 are some of the ones that you might be looking into building. So I'm going to start with CIS Security Benchmark Level 2. As I click OK, here's how easy we have transitioned that entire NIST GitHub repo. We will present to you all of the rules from all sections, allowing you, and even mapped to CIS control numbers, to really look at this and say, okay, yeah, these are all of the controls that I want to set as a hardening technique on my macOS devices, but I want to dive into a specific section. So we have allowed you to go and section this off into variations. And what if I just want to turn off everything that's within this? I believe it's Option click. Yeah, so Option click allows you to deselect everything in that section. Quick note, you notice the M will appear. That means that you have now modified this security benchmark for your organization. So therefore an M will appear. There's another component of how we have set this up, and that is ODV value. So you see a $ ODV indicating organizationally defined value. That means this can actually change for your environment. If you don't like a limited consecutive failed login attempts to what they recommend, which by the way, I think is, I have messed up my keybinds and key commands. If I go edit and I go to show, CIS recommends 5. 5 failed login attempts is the limit. My organization, I don't mind to give them a little bit more grace. So in my organization, I'm going to change that to 9. Oh, wait a second. CIS does not recommend you change this. Okay, I get that. That's the definition of the benchmark, by the way. So in this case, I'm going to change this to 9. So now I have edited this, and so therefore there's an M stating I've modified this. I'm going to turn off a couple of other ones over here to show some modification to the password policy section. Once I am done, and once you are done with your organization and you've worked with your compliance team, you've worked with your security team to define what is the benchmark that we want to apply across our organization, you then select the Create Guidance button before I select this. What this button does is utilize what you've customized to go out to the NIST GitHub repo, ascertain the controls, and actively use the most updated information so that you know you will be implementing this control in the best possible means, including all of the bug fixes that happened. So if I select Create Guidance, it will say, hey, we've recognized you have modified quite a number of these controls. Even if you just modify one of them, you have tailored this for your organization, therefore name it. And so in this case, Jamf Rocket Man, click OK. And as I click OK, you see at the bottom, we give you a notification that is going through and executing all the Python scripting on the back end. And by the way, all of this is built into the app, Python, Rails, and all the other things that are needed. Now, I click on View Project. Here's where the magic happens and why this app, why the project is so valuable to every one of you as an administrator. The first thing it does, it created an entire PDF, and yes, this is brandable to you. You don't have to have the Jamf brand up here. Very quickly, let me show you that. Go up to Jamf Compliance Editor. Here's where you upload your banner or your logo inside of here. And if you are the author of this modified or tailored security benchmark, you'll want to enter your information here as authors. So all of that gets put into this PDF. Now, this PDF has now gone through and is thoroughly documenting everything that you will be doing to your macOS devices in your organization. You know who's the most happy about this? Your compliance team, security auditors, PCI auditors, PHI auditors, PII, GDPR, all of those variations of security benchmarks around the world are now very happy that you have documented everything you're going to be doing to your macOS devices. And here's the fun part. If I go down here to password policy, look, everything has changed within this document to the configured changes of the ODV values, in this case, 9. Now, if I click on this, it's going to take me down to the portion of the PDF that is stating, hey, this rule, according to the NIST GitHub repo, will need to check this. And if you see right here in this script, it's already changed to 9 based upon the configuration change. So therefore, everything here states how you should go and check, audit the endpoint. So these are the scripts. If the result is not yes, it's a finding, meaning it's failed. And in which case, you need to go and deploy a configuration profile to the endpoint with these key pairs. So maxed failed attempts equals 9. In this case, you will be successful in implementing a remediation plan. Excellent. Everybody in your auditors are very happy. You also have a correlation to all the other security benchmarks that it's mapped to. So if you're doing this and you're implementing this, you're actually also implementing the NIST 853 Rev 5 AC7 control. Wonderful. All of that's great. Well, what if your auditors are not very pleased with PDFs? Well, let's go back into this folder. And what do you know? We've built an Excel spreadsheet out of all of this as well. So as I open up Excel, which takes a little bit longer, because it's a Microsoft product, but I didn't say that. As I open this up, here is an entire Excel spreadsheet of every control in the CIS benchmark that you are implementing. Here's a discussion point. Here's the check and audit validation. Here's how you fix it. Is it put in a configuration profile? And here's how it's mapped to every other control in every other benchmark. Woo! Now your auditors are very happy. Now, here's the part that makes all of you happy. This script also created unsigned configuration profiles, allowing you all to open them up in text editors to actually view what it's actually implementing. So in this case, yeah, you would go through the process of opening these up if you want to, and look to see what are the key pairs that we're going to be implementing across our fleet to help enforce the CIS security controls. So great. All you have to do is just upload the configuration profiles to Jamf Pro. Excellent. So that's one part. You'll also notice that not everything can be done in a configuration profile. Many of these have to be done through a script. Well, guess what? This, the Jamf Compliance Editor and the macOS Security Compliance Project also scripted this out. And if you can see here, this is over 3,000 lines of code of how to implement this and audit it all in one script. So you would use Jamf Pro to go and monitor your endpoints once a day to audit, to validate that the configuration profiles and or the script changes are in fact valid. So I will never go through this thing again. I went through it once. I will never read it again. The next component of this is, okay, that's all great, but what about in an automated fashion, can Jamf Pro go and count the number of failed controls on my macOS endpoints? We have built extension attributes for you as well. So all you have to do is go and import all of these extension attributes to count how many failed, get a list of those that failed, and also validate which version of the CIS controls are getting implemented on the endpoint. Exceptions, definitely go and look at the user guide. There is ways to set exceptions for various groups, but all of that then is done. So what you would do in my case, if I was the admin, I would go into this environment and say, okay, we've got a threshold. We need to meet 92% compliance of this security benchmark. So based upon the failed results count, I will say out of the, let's see how many controls I've deployed, 111 controls, you know, I need to validate that the number of failed count can't exceed over 10 items. If it does, I want it to go and implement this shell script and remediate every one of them. That's how I would set this up. All of this is in the user guide. So that's all great. We've done it all. We've set up all these variations of configuration profiles and scripts and extension attributes. How could we make this easier? Well, we did. Jamf Pro upload button. Now enter the Jamf Pro URL. Yes, it could be on-prem or Jamf Cloud. Enter the username, the password for the API username and password, and then we will upload all of this to Jamf Pro for you. You don't have to do any manual uploads. Next, last thing before we move into Q&A is the audit function. So once you have all of this set up, what if you had taken this app on a thumb drive? That particular Mac, you just want to check it out one time on device. Possibly it's off network for the time being, so it can't communicate to Jamf Pro. Well, this audit button will then open up a new dialog where you can run the audit script against the local machine that Jamf Compliance Editor is running on. And that way you can receive a result regarding just how well is this Mac going to do against the security benchmark. So then it will run through it. Obviously, mine's going to take a little bit of time because I've got overlapping configuration profiles right now. But that's what this does. It will then present a report that you can then export that out, especially if you're in a security incident and you want to review what was that baseline at the time of the security incident. That's what this audit component will add to your plate. So that's it. Hopefully it's not too overwhelming. Yes, I talk fast, so I am so sorry. But let's see here. Taylor Swift. Yep, absolutely. Wow. I can't believe we have a Swiftie on here. Do you need to sign the profiles if uploading them Jamf Pro? No, you do not, because as you can see with the name of the actual folder itself, it states that these are unsigned, granting you the capability to actually go into the configuration profile and look at the key pairs. We didn't want to sign it, and then it will be, hey, you can't really view what's in this configuration profile and see what we're doing. It needs to stay unsigned, and that's also because that's how the macOS Security Compliance Project works. Can we combine benchmarks? No, you cannot. So that's a great ask. Not necessarily. In fact, I don't recall ever receiving that request. Great request. If it's something that you need to do, I would suggest you enter that in the macOS Security Compliance Project NIST GitHub request system. And they would have to enter that in there. And then as soon as NIST GitHub repo allows you to do that, it would be much easier for us to introduce it to this app. Again, this is just a GUI front end to the NIST GitHub repo. Do I get to leverage our mutual connection for one-on-one? Yeah, okay. Thanks, David. How does it create Jamf? Does it create Jamf Protect Analytics or integrate in any way with it? No, but what we have done is that we recognize Jamf Compliance Editor and its ability to audit. So when you look at each one of these controls, like this one on the check, what we're doing right now is validating that when Jamf Protect executes its CIS security scoring inside of the compliance tab of Jamf Protect, you actually have the capability of validating that this is the way that we're checking instead of some other proprietary method. So that's one way we're looking at it, but please understand Jamf has got compliance on our mind right now across all of our portfolio. So Jamf Compliance Editor was just one tipping point for us to start this journey of really utilizing all of the compliance tooling that's available to us. Well, what about 2 years ago? CIS made it. Oh, wow. The questions are coming in. Give me a second. Scrolling too fast. And Eric, if you want me to focus on any one of them, please let me know, or Chris.
I just want to say real quick, I have used this the past 2 versions for both Ventura and Sonoma, and my compliance team and security team absolutely positively loves me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I can't tell you the number of enterprise organizations that asked us very specifically, and man, were they stern about their ask, when are you going to start doing this for Windows? I said, never. So that's been a fun response. Eric, anything you want to draw out real quick or point me to a particular question?
Matt, I think you are doing great right now getting through these as they come up. As long as you're okay with keeping doing that, I'd love to keep you on track there.
Cool. Raphael, recommend layering multiple configuration profiles? No, I do not. If you layer configuration profiles at this time, Apple's documentation will state it is unintended unknown results when there is a payload within that configuration profile that overlaps. At one point, it was the more restrictive one would rule and would take principal control. It is no longer the case. So if you do have a specific payload that happens to be in 2 separate configuration profiles, I absolutely recommend that you scope them for 2 different sets of devices. So yes, there's administrative actions that need to be taken when doing this type of effort. Now, can you create inside of Jamf Compliance Editor a specific set of controls with specific set of like ODV values, upload them, and then go inside of Jamf Compliance Editor and create a whole separate benchmark, maybe for the highly sensitive departments of your organization, like your finance department that controls all the finances, and then do a Jamf Pro upload and upload them to the same Jamf Pro server. Yes, you can do that. Just be mindful of the naming convention that you use as you create a new project and making sure that you're not going to overlap the naming, because that's what we use when you use this Jamf Pro upload button. That's what we use to give a precursor name to it. There's another name for it and I'm losing it. It's Friday. Leave me alone. So do we need this on top of Jamf Protect? Hopefully that answers your questions about do not try to deploy the same payload configuration profile. Do we need this on top of Jamf Protect? No, you do not need this on top of Jamf Protect. This is officially a Jamf Pro add-on tool. This is not officially in connection with our Jamf Protect product. It is a free download. I'll put the link in the chat. Go and grab it right now for free. Thanks for the app. It's great. How do we just fix the guidance without uploading and replacing everything? We are working on that. So one of the things that we have seen is like an organization go inside a password policy. They found that this particular ODV value was possibly too restrictive or too loose. As you set a new ODV value and you want to do a Jamf Pro upload, it's our recommendation that you only select, like deselect all of these. I think the option click works here. Deselect all of them and then make sure that you're only going to upload that specific configuration profile that matches that change. So that's how you would do it. And then making sure that you, you set up scoping right. You de-scope one and re-scope the other. Are you able to show a demo of the upload? Ooh, I'm gonna have to go off screen, but I might stop screen sharing in a moment so I can show you what it looks like in Jamf Pro. Oh my gosh, you guys with your, yeah, the Super Bowl will be insane. 50-yard road tickets, awesome presentation. Okay, so given that I have had a slow up in the questions, give me a moment to bring up my Jamf Pro server because I failed to recall that that is a great presentation part of this. Log in, move this window over to the other one. Jamf Pro, screen, Firefox, share. All right, everybody hopefully can see my Firefox window, computers. Here's the way it looks inside of configuration profiles. If I go down here, this was when I did a Mac Ventura, the NIST 853 Rev 5 moderate. So it'll show up as an entirely new category inside of configuration profiles. We'll have the precursor name at the beginning, indicating also what that configuration profile is there for. And then at any point, you can also dive into that. And if it's mapped accordingly and it wasn't a custom, you would see it mapped accordingly. But in this case, this doc configuration profile setting is a custom one that is using a plist for validation here, where you're trying to turn off all chances of moving your mouse to a specific corner. Oh, sorry. This one's either turning it on or turning it off. But anyways, you get what I'm saying here. That's what it will look like inside of the Jamf Pro server, is a new category. And then extension attributes obviously show up inside of the appropriate section of computer management, extension attributes, and then where'd it go? Oh, compliance failed result list. And this will basically gather the list of failed controls on that specific endpoint so that it will be gathered inside of the device record. Also helpful because that means you've also got a record of it ever failing. So, Bruce, I get you, bud. No problem at all. Well, thank you all. That's all I've got. That's Jamf Compliance Editor. Any other questions? Please put them in Zoom or come off mute. I don't mind injections.
I'll sneak off mute for a minute, Matt. That was awesome. Thank you so much for going through everything. I have a pretty easy question, I think. I know that the team has been great at going through and making sure that it's been updated for each latest release of Mac OS as it's been coming out. You guys have been like ahead, which is awesome.
Yeah.
What does that look like going forward? Like, is the team like I don't know. Is it more so a labor of love? Like, is this a combination of some people's job? Like how long, I guess, like, do you envision that you're going to be able to do like as great of a job as you guys are doing with it now?
Yeah, we will continue. So the four of us are still owning this product. Obviously, because it's free, we can't assign any actual product dev or QA cycles to it. So we will continue. We have absolutely no foresight on when we'll stop, meaning even if Jamf Pro and Jamf Protect, some magical future happens to insert all of these capabilities into our main products, we see value in this continuing. So we have no future of end of lifing this application.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Hey,
Looks
Matt.
like
Matt, this
Go
is
ahead.
John. Yeah, first of all, thanks to you and your team. I mean, I'm sure I speak for a lot of admins that had to do this manually, and it was a nightmare.
Yeah.
And we got a lot of pushback from InfoSec people, like thinking that Jamf and Apple are idiots or like incompetent, right? Right. You get this kind of feedback, which is completely unfounded. It's completely unfounded. But this is my question is, I put it in the thing in chat there, but how does this relate to Jamf Connect? Because I think like the login stuff can be excluded now. It can be exempted because Jamf Connect's handling everything. And I think the password as well is being handled by your federated services, either Azure AD or whatever, your Okta. So that could be exempted. So, and I would think you'd put it at a 0 fail, right? So if it's anything above 0, then it fails. I've been using this app for like 3 weeks now, and I finally cracked the code where some of my other profiles were stepping on the CIS profiles. And so I'm like, why is Wake on LAN and why is this stuff still not just failing? And it was because of other profiles were stepping on it.
Correct.
But the main thing I'm wondering if you can is like we're kind of like in test mode right now, obviously before we do production. But it took me like several hours, maybe several days, like 3 or 4 days to kind of zone in and like, why is this thing failing? And the guidance, I have to spit out new guidance, and it's not too clear on is the custom schema. I think the custom schema and the script get affected. If you spit out new guidance, you need new script and a new schema, or correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, both.
Okay.
So for the rest of you, if you haven't gotten into the compliance world too much, what John's bringing up is incredibly valid to understand the way auditors think. Because in this case, all of the login items and password policy controls that are listed in NIST and CIS are actually controlled by Jamf Connect with its connection to your cloud identity provider. So when your auditors come into your location and ask for documentation, you'll say, hey, these specific CIS controls, I am not deploying because they are actually getting enforced through this other mechanism. So therefore, here's my documentation on what is happening here. This is a Jamf Connect function in conjunction with Intra ID or Okta or whatever that might be. So document, if you ever uncheck an item, you document why you're unchecking it. And then the second component of that is, can you get better about understanding where overlap is existing? I don't know. That's going to be hard because yes, you are correct. There are sometimes custom payload variables that are not mapped to the inherent UI of Jamf Pro, and therefore you don't know which one's overlapping, I don't have an easy answer for you on that one. No, great insight, but yeah, I have nothing for you. Oh, it brings up a good point. As obviously there's hundreds of you on this call, so thankful so much for all of you joining us today. But if you open up the user guide, please understand this product is not officially supported by Jamf or Jamf support. Instead, inside of the user guide, there is an email address that you can send feedback to, and that goes immediately to myself and 3 other individuals within Jamf. And that allows you to get feedback about the specific app itself. I will preface it. Sometimes we will respond back and tell you, actually, that's macOS Security Compliance Project that is got an issue with that configuration profile. So make sure that you, if you can, deviate out what is the GUI versus what is macOS Security Compliance Project. So that will help you get the right support when you need to look at it. John, I hope that helps just a little bit. Awesome. Thank you, John, for your feedback on the user guide. Anything else?
Unless we have anything else, Matt, I think you knocked it out of the water. That was amazing. Thank you so much for joining this call.
Great.
I know we're at the top of the hour, so quickly we'll just plug what our topic will be next month. Next month, we're trying something a little bit interesting. We want to do a Ask an Expert panel. I know we have a couple of experts already lined up and then a couple of other experts that we're looking for. But we want to give the community here a chance to have, a wide variety of different questions that seem like they're relevant. So on the registration link that we email out every single month, we're going to also add another field in there for, in addition to your, first name, last name, email address, also a space for a question. So hopefully we'll be able to cast the widest net if we get 30 of the same question here, 20 of the same question there. And then I'm sure there'll be a couple fun ones and ridiculous ones. Bruce, I'm looking at you. So that's going to be our format next month. The date for next month's meetup, I believe, is March 1st. Caleb, can you confirm that with me? It looks like, Friday, March 1st.
That is correct. Friday, March 1st.
Beautiful. We're going to try and get that email out a little bit ahead of time, just so we have some time to comb through some of those questions. Other than that, a million thank yous to everybody for continuing to show up to these monthly meetups. The community really makes this a special meetup for us here at Rocket Man. Another, big thank you to Matt for knocking that one out of the park. That was amazing. And with that, I think that just about does it. Feel free to reach out to us at Rocket Man if you guys have any Jamf related questions, or if you need any Jamf related services. We are always happy to step in and do that. Other than that, guys, thanks for a great meetup this month, and we look forward to seeing everybody next month. Chris, did I miss anything?
No, I think we're good, Eric. Thanks so
Right.
much again, Matt. Amazing presentation. Always good to see you.
You too, Chris.
I just wanted to give Chris an opportunity to show off like the 9th different background he's had in the last 2 calendar weeks. Always keeps me on my toes. We never know where he is.
You guys have an awesome day. Talk soon.
You as well. Happy Friday, everyone. Take care.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everybody.
everyone. Have a wonderful
everyone.
day.
Thanks, have fun.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Looks like Caleb already dropped the registration link into the chat. If you guys are still here, you can get out in front of that.
Enjoy your weekend, everyone.
Caleb, did you get another haircut or did you just clean it up?
I showered.
That counts. We count that.
Yeah. No, I did shave everything on the side and kept the stash for Hugo specifically because I know he's been asking for it. So,
Nice.
yeah. All right, I think I'm gonna hit the end for everybody.